This was the charter of the land, and God your angels sang us praise. Rule, Britannia, rule always. Britons never, never shall we say. Rule, Britannia, rule always.
Hail Britannia indeed. So welcome everyone. This is going to be a stream all about celebrating Brexit and talking about Brexit and UK related things. So the guest that we have today is WASP News Media. WASP News Media has been making media for a while, covering news and things. I know him because he's, I don't think he's been on the show before, but I've known of him for a while, and he's been in my server for a while. He might have been a guest early on when I started. We are joined today by two other Englishmen. We have Kizza GT and Zen Chan. You can all unmute yourselves and speak now. We'll let WASP News Media speak first. Hello and welcome. How are you today, my friend?
Well, good evening. Thank you very much for having me on. Yes, this is a first time appearance, but I have been in your server for a little while. Been uploading daily since April 24th last year, or year before last, actually, because it's been about a year and a half now. And yeah, just keep on plugging on, essentially. That's me.
Thank you for being here today. I know that it's difficult for me to get viewers and to get people to participate in my odd timed streams, but it's easier for the UK because it's actually evening time after work for you guys. But this is the time slot that works best for me each week. Hello, everyone in the chat. I see some familiar faces in the chat. Thank you for being here. It seems like DLive is actually working this week. So we have people over in DLive already. Hello, Alex. Good to see you over there. Hello, Dami, and the few others that are over on DLive. So, Kizza, Zen Chan, and Wasp, are you glad that Brexit finally happened?
Yes.
100%
kind of.
Yes. Yeah.
I want to completely force choke the living crap out of Parliament.
I think we all do these days, quite frankly, mate. The left and the right.
No. When I say force choke the crap out of Parliament, I'm talking, think of that terrible movie Dragon Ball Evolution, what Piccolo did to Goku Granddad's
I've
house.
not seen it. I've not seen it. It's a disaster.
Yeah, that's what I want to do to Parliament right now.
What's subjected to watching terrible adaptations? That would be
Well,
an
I've been more
excellent
reminded of V for Vendetta and listening to the 1812 Overture more.
Oh,
and
mate.
I know that's got to be mentioned quite frequently, but I was thinking that
Yeah.
when I was watching the fireworks that obviously we're going to get onto. It's like fireworks. That reminds me of another chap. And hang on, Houses of Parliament are right there. Is it going to happen this year?
Should that potentially be our closing song, Yizz?
But
We open with one glorious song, we'll end with another.
Which,
With the cannons,
song?
please. Yeah.
Which song?
No, just 1812 Overture.
Of course we can do it. I'll go ahead and look that up then.
Yeah, different.
We'll have that ready to close it out then. We'll do 1812 Overture here.
Yeah, difference is that like I don't personally want a Catholic monarchy taking over, but that's just me.
No, fair enough.
Yes,
but I am reminded, I think we got a problem, the other YouTube channel. He got a montage of what V for Vendetta did with regards to fireworks as well. I'm not sure how we'd feel about you using his video.
I'm assuming we'll be talking about fireworks at least a little bit because of
I will say, I would love to get we got a problem on. He is so blunt and to the point.
Oh, he's so fun. Yeah, I really do like him.
Yeah, we
The
definitely.
the problem is I love so many streamers and I love so many content creators, but I
There's too
stay
much.
busy taking care of my family, and it's a lot of work just trying to be on someone's stream like Uzalu's stream and be a part of his Discord community, let alone build one of my own. So it's like it's really hard to get guests and organize things because I don't do this for a living. I have to do other stuff and take care of people, and I got a full life outside of doing this. So
Oh,
it's really hard to like connect with others and get stuff going. But I did want to make time for a New Year's stream today, and I thought, what better framework than Brexit? Because so many of my people are UK dwellers. So today, since you brought up, we've got a problem. Do you guys want to start off by talking about the firework mess and talking about that? Is that a fun topic to start with?
Oh Lord, where to begin?
It's fairly honestly. I don't even consider it that much news. It's just Sadiq Khan continuing to push his politics, using the powers that he's given by the horrendousness that is London. Like you say you'd love to see a reenactment of V for Vendetta on the Houses of Parliament. I'd like the entirety of London to be that way, quite frankly. The entire city is such a mess.
Okay. Maybe that's just a little too harsh. I would have said replace one particular fireworks display with a flaming middle finger.
Oh, instead of a fist, yeah.
Yeah, well, the flaming middle finger.
Ah, Christ. So if anyone in chat is not aware, Sadiq Khan is the horrendously lefty mayor of London. He's been going for how long now? Like 8 years, it feels like?
Since 2015, if memory serves.
Only 5 years, it feels longer. And he does he does things constantly to just push his politics on the people of just the country because the eyes are on London. So
yep, and waste my taxpayers' money on worthless stuff like putting LGBTQ freaking traffic lights or LGBTQ toilets, which next to nobody uses.
Jesus Christ! I'm so glad I'm literally on the other side of the country from London.
Well, hey! You forget. I live in mini London, so a lot of stuff that happens there gets pushed over to my city. Okay,
get up here to the north, man. It's safer up here, mostly.
Sadly, I got a well-paying job in the south.
Oh, git.
Regardless.
But yes, so if anyone doesn't know, this year they used a bunch of drones to make a big Black Lives Matter fist and read out poetry about Black Lives Matter during our fucking New Year's celebration fireworks festival. It was horrendous. And of course, you must remember, almost all of England's been forced back into its third lockdown now, unofficially, but yes. That was the only fireworks we could experience legally, essentially. Anyone who was leaving the house to do their own fireworks displays, even if they have licenses to use fireworks and purchase fireworks, those are all legal because we're not allowed out of our homes in about all of England. I think there's small parts of Cornwall and the parts of England that border Wales are still allowed out occasionally, but that's it. Most of us are literally full lockdown.
And the Isles of Scilly, of course, the only tier 1 place.
Yeah, but what's hilarious is we now have the quote-unquote super coof. We have now super coof. It's gone to a new level. Yes, it's gone to a new level. Personally, I blame the fact London was in T2 for so long. It should have been T3 from the very beginning, but that's just me.
I think the opposite. I have constantly been hearing people explaining that lockdowns mean that viruses propagate more and take longer to fizzle out, which means that they are able to develop more because they are there for a longer period of time.
That's why the World Health Organization doesn't like lockdowns, and if you wish to quarantine somebody, then you quarantine the sick, you don't quarantine the healthy.
Well, remember, YouTube's terms of service, we must always agree with the World Health Organization. So, the World Health Organization says no lockdowns, people.
Yes. Also, speaking of which, as Knox pointed out, if only there was a certain policy the Tories could have implemented back in January, that would have had a 99.9% success rate of reducing any of us in the island being infected.
Yeah, I wonder what that was.
Mate, catching the coup has a 99.9% success rate, if you're thinking about it like that. But anyway, we're talking about fireworks. So this isn't new for Sadiq Khan. 2 years ago, right after we had voted for Brexit, well, not right after, but after we had already voted for Brexit, he lit up the fucking London Eye with the EU flag, which, quite frankly, in my opinion, should have deemed him a traitor to this country and dragged out of office on the spot, in my opinion. because that is literally saying, I am going to declare my allegiance to a country that is not ours, that we are actively attempting to leave.
Yep.
Disgusting.
Yeah, I don't think
Absolutely
that's the
fucking disgusting.
only country, though, is it? I mean, as Academic Agent has pointed out, he's mainly been voted in based on demographics anyway. So I'm not sure if the European Union is the country with allegiances that you need to be concerned about.
Yeah,
well, we all know the real reason. But funny enough, I mean, it makes me laugh when people talk about, oh, Britain's going to be the first country that's ever left the European Union. That is a lie, ladies and gentlemen. That is a big fat lie. In fact, 3 nations have left the European Union, and you will laugh. What was the very first country?
Go
I
ahead.
don't know.
It was Algeria.
Algeria was in the European Union.
It's a country I think about so little, I forget where anywhere on the globe it is.
Yeah. The reason for that was it gained independence from France in 1962. France was a founding member of the European Community. So technically, it was a part of the European Union.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah. The second one was Greenland in 1985, which they
huge.
Yeah, Algeria's pretty big, yeah. So the second one was Greenland in 1985 because they appealed to leave in 1979 under Danish rule because of fishing rights, believe it or not. And the third one was Iceland in 2013, if memory serves.
So basically everywhere that's not on the European mainland has been immediately ditching. We are just the latest in that queue.
Well, yes, but to be honest, what makes me really laugh, and I've had this I mean, as for Boris's deal, it's literally just Theresa May's withdrawal agreement, but just in a new set of colours.
Christ.
Yeah, when it comes to the agreement, I don't know the particulars because I have a lot of other things on my plate, and also I don't like reading through boring legalese stuff that governments put out. It's almost impossible for me to understand. I hate it.
Yeah, same. Normally I wait for someone like Sargon to do a video detailing it, but he didn't. So,
he'll get. Hey, just remember, he's doing multiple podcasts where I've been slyly pushing my little bit of propaganda to him.
I've noticed that.
Yeah. My little thing, and he completely agrees, which clearly means now I need to get a T-shirt deal done, so I need to send to him so he can share it to everyone.
Do it. I've told you, do it.
You have to refresh Entropy again because it doesn't seem like it's streaming.
Just not with what is it? Redbubble. No, Redbubble I think's good. It's the other one, Teespring or something. I don't know.
All right. I refreshed it again. It should be showing up now. And I saw what you sent me, Silence. Thank you.
Oh, to I believe it's PO2451's a question. Very simple. It was either a clown or a communist. Take your pick.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is so. Should we all discuss here like the main reasons we wanted to leave? I know this may be obvious, but if we're going to talk about Brexit, we might as well discuss our own.
Well, I mean, WASP News Media is our special guest. Let's let him choose what we talk about next. Because we've had a good 10 or 12 minute intro here. WASP, is there something in particular about Brexit or the events around the fireworks that you want to talk about right now?
No, I'm fine with keeping up with the rest of you if I want to talk about reasons for Brexit. The one thing that I would just input in, but perhaps this is too tinfoil-like, but I've always liked conspiracies even if I don't believe in them.
Sure. No, it's always tinfoil time here on your channel. We like tinfoil time over here. It's good stuff. So no, you're welcome to talk about whatever you like.
Well, in terms of the firework display, that originally the idea was that it was going to be cancelled, of course. And then saying that, well, people can't come out, of course, in order to see the fireworks. What that means is that you don't have an immediate response from people showcasing their, I suppose, disapproval with what is being done, which means it enables them to push a message nationally for a lot longer in its entirety without people in the immediate vicinity protesting and trying to get them to either stop it or to change their tack. So I wouldn't be surprised if they either set it up this way or the very least took advantage of the situation to say, well, hey, we're not going to get protested straight away, so we might as well use this opportunity when everybody's tuning in anyway and co-opt it to push our means.
So you're saying they didn't want a was it Millwall situation? What was
yes,
the football team?
Yes, precisely. It was, yes, Millwall.
Are you aware of that, Yizz?
No, I'm not. Tell me about it. Before you tell me about it, though, let me remind all the visitors here, or all the viewers, every 30 to 40 minutes, we stop and we check questions and comments. If you want to ask us questions or say stuff to us for us to talk about, use the link to go to Entropy. And on the left-hand side, you'll see a thing called questions, where you can put your comments and questions for us. I call that the question widget. And in the white positive community, it is often called the Tall Kevin widget. And over on that widget on the left, I check that every 30 or 40 minutes, and we actually respond to it. So that's a good place to put your ideas, questions, and comments for us. And of course, if you want to give us paid donations, you can do that too over on Entropy, as well as PayPal. So back to you, Zen.
Well, essentially, Millwall is, to my understanding, is a football team that are very renowned for being, well, their fans are quite renowned for being rather rowdy. And the Millwall team, when starting a match recently, which is one of the first football matches we've had in this country proper for a while, before they did kick off, they all took a knee. And I tell you, the chorus of booing from the stands filled me with joy on that day. I tell you what, it was wondrous. I sounded like every single person in those stands. Because you got to bear in mind, the stands are also like at what was it, like 50% capacity or something? It was definitely limited.
It's only like 2,000 fans in, so it's a very low capacity.
That's out of
stadium.
What was the original?
Oh, I think I think it's like at most 20% capacity, because ultimately they're trying to bring fans in to keep these smaller teams going while trying to maintain quote unquote safe distance.
Yeah, and they still were able to just completely overpower everything with those choruses of boos. So I have to assume they didn't want that to happen with the fireworks as well, which would have happened. Well, I say it would have happened. It's London, so...
It's London, mate. It's London.
I still think it would have done. It's a silent majority kind of thing. But in terms of the Millwall, I think there are three things worth mentioning. One is, from back in the day, there's something called a Millwall Brick. Have you heard about that at all?
No, is that the hooligan group? Is that the hooligan?
I don't know what that is either.
No. That is because of things getting rowdy and football hooligan supporters, if you will, attacking one another, that they, of course, frisked for weapons so that they couldn't take anything in like blades or anything like that. So the Millwall Brick was designed, and it's a very simple idea, which is newspapers rolled up and taped. And so you get essentially a brick because you're putting together a load of wood. So I see. Like a club. And of course, then in the final bend, you can put something in there if you wish. So it's akin to a kind of a nail through a plank.
Right.
And so it's cool. It's called the Millwall Brick because of where it originates, of course. So that is the kind of culture that you have on Millwall supporters. But the other things, yes, of course. So booing is quite peaceful for what they're known for. Mm-hmm. But the follow-up, of course, from I believe it was the FA or could have been a spokesperson for Millwall, said that the Black Lives Matter thing that we're trying to support is, just look at the phrase that the supporters are trying to put in something political, which isn't there from the Black Lives Matter movement. And you've got to laugh at that because you're like, well, you clearly haven't looked at their own website where they say it is a political movement or political intervention, I believe is their phrase. So he's got no idea what he's bloody on about. But the disconcerting thing is that they did follow up by reviewing CCTV footage in order to bring punishment against, I believe at the moment, it's only one fan, but they used their CCTV in order to isolate a fan that they then did the job of investigating, finding out who it was, to fine him and ban him for life.
Jesus Christ. I'd heard that they were starting investigations, but I'd hoped that would just fizzle away into... But no, that they've actually done something is dodgy as fuck, and I more and more hate this country every single fucking day.
I would say, sorry, I'm back there. I would say, basically, from what I understand, according to the reports, it was like a fan representation thing, trying to say, no, we're not booing because we're racist, we're booing because we don't support a divisive organization.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, and like I always talk on this channel, I think that the notion of playing who is the real racist game is a game we're always going to lose, and that's why we should just mock and ridicule the people who care about that stuff. Call them something. Call them anti-white. Call them Marxists. Call them something like that.
Yeah, and
Yeah, call
Well,
them
again,
traitors.
academic
Call them
agent
traitors.
mentions that
I
it's
like-
language
I
games.
like if somebody tries to bring up racism or call you a racist or something, you should just say, "Well, why do you hate this country? Why do you hate the West? Why do you want to destroy Western kind?" Go
I
on
like
the
calling
offensive
them,
against them and beat them with truth and reason instead of playing the pin the tail on the racist game, because that's a game we all lose.
Oh yeah. I just got banned for. I'm in Zuckerberg jail for 30 days because calling out someone for being anti-white and Anglophobic. Apparently,
did
that's
they-
harassment
are?
and
Is that
bullying.
Facebook? Did you say?
Yeah. So I did say Zuckerberg's jail.
Zuckerberg
right,
jail. Okay,
Zuckerberg,
yeah.
right, okay. I couldn't hear that very well. Dude, I've been on like eternal YouTube jail, and I still don't know why. But my messages in live streams get hidden, and I still to this day have no idea why.
Is it because you haven't toggled live chat? Because up at the top now they have a box, a drop
I
down
see it.
menu for top chat and live chat.
Yeah,
And a lot of
yeah.
people's messages get hidden. For
Yes,
some reason.
yes. I get hidden from top chat. I have to be seen in live chat, and even then, sometimes I get hidden. And I can't send super chats. I tried to super chat the Lotus Eaters about a week ago to try and advertise one of my streams, and it would not let me. No matter what like combinations of words I used, it would not accept me sending a super chat. So I'm effectively in YouTube live stream jail, and I've no
Yeah.
idea why.
Well, I did hear V talk about something about a load of accounts being deleted or terminated because of some for so-called hate comments. But if you dare try and call them out on this, it's just like, oh, we did the investigation, nothing to see here.
Of course,
Yeah.
of course. We
And
did an
this-
investigation.
Yes, and this is why my terms of service bill needs to be mandatory law. Another reason why I need to be in charge.
Well, sort of steering the conversation back to something productive here. When it comes to Brexit happening, regardless of if you don't like the particulars of how it happened or the deal, let's talk about right now and the future. Instead of talking about the reasons why you're glad it finally happened or why you wanted it to happen in the beginning, we're going to start with WASP News Media, but I'd like each of you to talk about what you think is going to be best this year about having Brexit done. Let's start with WASP News Media.
I've got a white pill.
What good things do you think are immediately going to be noticeable or made manifest in your country because Brexit finally happened?
I have a very optimistic white pill. Maybe not
That's
realistic,
great.
but
We like to
optimistic.
give those out around here. This is a good white pill channel.
Yes, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, after my
You say that
tinfoil.
I'm one of your co-hosts.
Oh, hush, Northerner.
So, you've probably seen that, of course, there's a points requirement, and that for people even coming in from the European Union, that they need to wait 5 years after having a good paying job, as in just over the median income of 24 grand a year. But they need to have that. They also need to speak English, and they need to have that for 5 years before they can claim benefits, and they can't take it out for their children living in another country.
That's actually happened?
Yes, that is the immediate change with regards to EU migration. The point that I wish to take this further is that quite a lot of the migrant crisis or the refugee crisis is from migrants coming in through Europe. Then they're being given passports from Germany in particular, so that then they are, by all accounts, a German citizen who that can then come over to the UK as an EU national and take the benefits pretty much straight away, as well as for children in another country. So obviously, it is not intentioned to stop migrants outside of the European Union. Of course, it isn't. However, because of the workaround that is currently being used of become an EU citizen in order to get to the UK, I'm optimistic in that this legislation would also be used for people on our side of things in order to bring it through as a court case to say, well, yeah, okay, this person wasn't from the EU initially, but that is the path of which they're trying to use to come across, and we don't allow that level of access anymore. So it's kind of still giving them the benefit of the doubt that, oh yeah, they're definitely an EU citizen, no doubt, even though they don't speak any European languages, but definitely. But even with those laws in place, it's still not good enough. So I am very optimistic that that is going to be used. It's not going to stop coming across on the channel in dinghies, of course, but in other aspects, when people are at least caught or they're known or they're trying to get through in what they think is a legal manner, it won't work anymore. So that's my optimistic
that's great.
pill.
Like I've been saying for a couple of years now, It's not the illegal immigration. It's the goddamn legal immigration that's killing us. That's what we have to stop. We have to fight the legal immigration.
I agree. So yeah, that's my little optimistic tidbit for the year.
Okay, that's good. Well, let's go to Kizza next. Kizza, what do you think is going to immediately get better or be good this year in 2021 because Brexit happened? I think you might be muted because I don't hear you.
Oh, sorry, I actually muted myself. Well, we should have quote unquote complete 100% sovereignty, but this is the Tories we're talking about.
Yeah.
And I mean, me personally, with the whole Brexit scenario, yes, it would be nice to have complete sovereignty and independence. The problem is that when you've been entangled in an organization for effectively 46 years, to go from that to complete independent sovereign state, there's going to be a lot of pain and chaos being created by this, as we saw down Dover.
Well, that doesn't sound like an answer to my question.
I mean, me personally, one thing I did notice, thanks to AA's video on this, we will get much more foreign investment.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Yeah, so
and London Capital Finance is needing that at the minute, aren't they?
well, I mean, based on the AA's video, based on 2018, when it came to foreign investment was high in the United Kingdom. In 2018, remember, this is where all the chaos was happening. Then the rest of the European Union got to combine. So I'm praying for basically a lot more quote unquote free market capitalism in a sense. But I'm not massively optimistic with the Tories in charge.
Well, I can take your point further. I think
sure, go ahead.
if you wish to be optimistic, but again, this isn't really realistic, is that because, as you say, they've been entangled for so long, 46 years, and therefore, they'll be pain and don't know what to do, then you will, in essence, have a sort of power vacuum. Because people will be running around not knowing what they should be doing and what they can and can't do, in which case there's a small window of opportunity for somebody who's more, I suppose, strong-headed in order to come in and make that change, because they're picking up the slack, which I've said for a while, a kind of British strongman is what we really need. And the US almost got their way out of it with Trump, but of course the media wasn't going to allow that to happen. But with the exception of maybe 2016 being the turning point, we do possibly have another opportunity now in order to have something positive without having to turn to utter shit for things to get better. So there's your optimism that we might get that strongman coming out of a power vacuum, because that's what we're craving for.
I hope so, because I've been saying for years now that we need to be the heroes that we want to see, because from among us is where our new leaders and political pundits and social champions are going to come from. Because God knows they're not going to rise up out of the swamp. They're going to come from us. They're going to come from the ground up from us.
Yes, and Bill Whittle in America is trying to do that, if you know Bill Whittle. That's what he is trying to establish as well. Because he's saying the kind of person that you want to run for local public office is the kind of person who doesn't want to run. And chances are that's you.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I guess one optimism I could say, partially related to Brexit, is that now I do think there's going to be a sudden shift, politically and culturally speaking, against this internationalist mentality we've been seeing for a long time.
Build back better.
No, don't mention those.
No, let's not say that. Let's not build better. Let's build stronger. Let's build more pure. Let's build, instead of saying better, I like words that are about unity and nationalism and patriotism and pride of your people and your history.
Yes, my point.
I think that's where we are going to properly rally our people, is around, hey, we are great and our ancestors are great, and fuck all these idiots that say otherwise. Fuck these idiots that call us racist and want to pollute our country and our gene pool. We are the champions. We are the masters of our destiny. We are the heroes in our story. That's the message that we need to be pushing to people, because we're going to build nationalism from the ground up together going forward.
Yes, by all means. I just mean that in terms of hoping that internationalism and globalism falls, it's not looking good when all the top leaders are using the same phrases. Either Klaus Schwab, Biden, or Johnson all using the same phrase.
Well, Trudeau, yeah, but the issue is that as Bill said an all -1 when he made a good point. The problem is, in order to kill globalism, you have to, ironically enough, do a lot of damage to the United States because the United States effectively pushed it.
Right, exactly. Like, and again, I often say to save the West, we need to observe, to have a healthy racial consciousness and unity of all Western kind, which is all iterations of Caucasians and whatnot. And we have to observe ethnic sovereignty, which is we don't want just one super state like the EU or America to just steamroll everyone. America is the backbone of globalism right now. We have to end the U.S.-Israel military hegemony, and we have to pull back and defeat the capitalism of these multinational corporations in Silicon Valley, all these people that are using and abusing the American system and the American power structure through lobbying and super PACs and this BS to get to basically enact globalism and make it possible. If we can have a strong nationalist uprising in America and start fixing these damn problems and fighting back against the real evils that threaten all of us, then America should, by default, lose a lot of power and let all of the other European states start to gain power together. And I think that's the wisest way forward for us to be able to beat globalism.
And it has been done before, of course, because after America got its independence, rightly or wrongly, that of course we had that special relationship whereby Britain and the US didn't really get involved with each other, but had their own individual nation states, and were still able to convene and trade and converse on a very happy level because we're not interfering with each other's politics and policies, which is where the Prince of Soy faltered, obviously, as did Obama. But until then, it was working quite nicely.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, as Steve said in the chat, the Queen has had several chances already to do what needs to be done, and she hasn't. So it may, dare I say, maybe Guy Fawkes may have had a point regarding the monarchy.
We've already been through V for Vendetta.
Well, I mean, me personally, I would take the monarchy over Parliament purely because the monarchy has done literally next to nothing.
No,
so,
no.
I'm not a historian. I'm not educated, but I do think that
keyword.
I do think that it's important to know at least somewhat about history, but no matter what you can point to in history, whether it's a revolution or 1812, like Alex brought up in chat, like I think that we have to realize things are different now because of internet, because of global communications, because of the instant trade of money we can have. We can have an entirely new kind of war against the establishment. We can have an entire new kind of nationalist uprising that's done digitally, that's done remotely. We can do it with all these tools at our disposal. So it's important to look at the now and the tools we have and build something new going forward instead of trying to just repeat something that's already happened. So I think that's important for us to keep in mind, and why we should have conversations like we're having today of, hey, because Brexit happened and there's new things afoot, what do you think is going to be good because of this new shit that happened in 2021? So I like being forward focused instead of trying to learn. I like to learn from the past, but I don't want to repeat anything that's happened because that's all failed and got us to where we are today.
Yes, and I think also similarly to what you're saying is with the old dictum of politics is downstream of culture. It's building up something that is more worthwhile in the culture, and as you say, leading by example. And I think that tactics used by both Proud Boys and Antifa could actually be worthwhile to be
Kizza, we can hear you breathing.
And
turn out your mic,
sorry.
That's I have that effect, am I? But yes, that these tactics could still be used, even if you know, obviously we're not going down the violence route that Antifa are using, but when it comes down to the individual cells in the blocks and the way that they communicate with each other on a national level, I think that is something that can be used in a different way from a grassroots level, and having these different individual creators and groups and subsects like we are doing right here, right now, they're doing them around nationally and also internationally, as you say, because digital allows us to do it. That I think that's the way forward, as you're saying, but it's just trying to put in something more concrete to build upon what you said earlier.
Sin, you're a northerner.
Yep.
How do you feel up in the Northlands of the UK right now? I know that you're not near big cities like Kizza is. How do you feel about prospects of nationalism and patriotism and how your area will rally. Like, tell me something positive about what you see in your area with all this.
I'm sorry, Yizz. I'm afraid I can't do that.
You don't?
No,
Okay.
no.
All right.
There is very little positive things I can give. I can only commiserate. There is
Okay.
so little white pills.
All right. Well, then I challenge you to be the light in the darkness, to be the white pill others need, to be the man that other young men in the community can emulate. That's a challenge of me to you.
Yeah, little problem there. It's kind of illegal for me to meet anyone in my community right now.
If a law is not just, it is not a law at all. So
yeah,
don't
I know.
follow it.
But at the same time, they're going to obey that law, and I can't just force myself into people's lives. So
Yes, but if you lead by example, maybe there's 1,000 others ready to put on mask and cloak and follow you. Remember that.
Potentially, I did get a. Oh, well, I suppose that's one thing. An old friend of mine from college DM'd me earlier, saying that as much as he's too afraid to post things on his Facebook, critical of the whole tier system, he appreciates that I've been saying those things. So
Good.
that was honestly a nice, it's I'm sure like content creators like you get that a lot. I've heard people talk about that, obviously anonymously, where they'll be like, oh yeah, such and such messaged me and said he's glad I'm saying what I say, even if they can't. So that's a white pill. One of my friends said that.
And there are ways to move forward through like your work as well with other employees, the people that you work with, that you can mention things. And I mentioned this with the Reaver a couple of nights ago, that the way that we do it, that we found most success with, is not dropping a load of information at once, because otherwise, people get a bit flustered, especially if you're saying things that they're not allowed to believe. Because if you go down that route, then they might agree with you, but they've been taught that they shouldn't like this, and therefore you must be evil. But instead, when they do touch upon a topic that you wish to nurture and encourage out of them, is just to bring up more points which agree with what they're saying, and to give them the facts and the evidence and the logic which does support it. So it's just a slow thing in order to let them know more of what they're saying, and that they're not alone, and it is okay to say such a thing. And there are more people out there. It's not quick. It's similar to what David Wood says about getting somebody to leave Islam, that you've got to give them a bit of information that they can go and research on their own, because, hey, we're all looking for truth. So they can go research it and they will reach the same conclusion, because we're all looking for truth. We're not trying to lie to anybody or mislead anyone. So they can do their own research as long as they know the questions to ask. And that's kind of what we're trying to do here.
Yep.
So there you go. That's what you can do.
Yeah.
I'm going to share Reaver's work in chat.
Just bait it. Yeah, I love David Woods. Honestly, he is a gem when it comes to fighting when it comes to the eye question.
The channel that WASP just brought up is Reaver, and WASP and Reaver just had a recent chat over on Reaver's channel, so I shared it in the chat.
Thank you.
Aye.
Yeah. So, what else is there?
Well, we were just going about things to be positive about, but is that? Did you want to bring things back to Brexit then? Because I don't think you mentioned anything that you're looking forward to for.
I'd like to do that if you like, but we don't have to. But what we are going to do right now is we're going to take a moment and we're going to check the super chats and whatnot. So first thing I want to do is I'm going to log into PayPal, because that takes a minute to get initialized here. We're going to check Cash App while I do that. See if we've got any donations over on Cash App. Okay, nothing showing up on Cash App yet. And PayPal is still thinking about it. So let's move over to Entropy. Silence is leaden. He says, here's the cost of your super chat for Dangerfield plus interest. Silence played a game with me earlier in Dangerfield's chat, which I will link his channel here since we're talking about him. Dangerfield's a really fun bloke. I believe he lives in Cambodia or some Southeast Asian place. And Dangerfield's a lot of fun. He's a cut up. He's a former comedian. He's a writer. He does a lot of fun stuff. And I have a Dangerfield link here in my notes. I just can't find it anywhere. Fiddlesticks. My problem is I have so many channels in my in my file. It takes me forever to find them. Anyway, thank you for the 8 British pounds. Silence is leaden. They will definitely go towards buying new stuff and funding my activism. Thank you very much, my friend. We don't even have any questions over on the question widget either, and it seems like nothing new has come through on PayPal. So that's it. That's all we have right now. We can go back to other things. So
Yeah.
I'm going to go dig up Dangerfield's link and put that in the chat. So thank you, JT. I appreciate that. And Alex, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get to go to DC again. Like I told you, someone important to me is going through a really terrible battle with cancer, and she might be dying in the next few weeks. So my family would hate it if I missed that. So I don't know if I'm going to get to be in DC in the next couple of weeks. If things look bad and there's actually going to be a time to water the tree and we're actually going to go to war, then yeah, I'm going to pick up arms and I'm going to come to DC and fight with you guys. But unless something like that happens, I'm probably not going to be there because I got to be here for my loved ones, especially in this time of need because one of them's dying. So as sad as that is, I got to be a responsible adult and take care of my family. But anyway, I'm going to turn it over to you guys, to you three Brits. Let you guys talk about positive stuff in England right now. And I'm going to go dig up that link for Dangerfield. So go ahead.
I mean, I guess one thing for me about positivity is my local city. Ultimately, it's just been certified the new boat party. I believe Yizz called it.
What?
The boat party, remember?
Yeah, the boat party.
yeah, obviously because of getting around YouTube's terms of service currently. The new boat party, for those who don't know. So, hopefully we will be, quote-unquote, be able to go back to some sort of normality very soon. Me personally, I'm going to wait to the back of the queue because there's far too more people who need to get on those boats well before I do, because I can swim. A lot of people can't.
Well, another positivity, I think, that with what Patriotic Alternative is doing, with Mark Collette, struggling, although they might. Yeah, of course, with her tea as well. Struggling, though they might, to do things because of the
about Laura Towler's
lockdowns. Grandma. Yep, that's the one. And they've started some new clubs as well, because of course they do like to do their meetups, but haven't been able to recently. So they're going down for like baking. They're doing book clubs, film clubs, gaming streams as well, for people to get involved in. And it comes back to that thing of trying to build up the culture and bringing people into something that is worthwhile instead of just doing dry news analysis, as I tend to do, which can be a bit tedious or boring to most people and isn't really enticing to get people involved. That they are trying to do something with a more cultural bent to it. So I think that will be up and coming in the new year. So there's some more good news for you all.
Hi.
That is good news. Thank you.
And then the other thing, seeing as no one else is taking it, in terms of tactics that I'd like to mention is plausible deniability. And this is used quite a lot in, I suppose, the manosphere and the MGTOW train of thought, regardless of what you think of that kind of group. But plausible deniability, in order to say what you want to say without, of course, being overt about it. So if somebody does try to bring you up on it, then you can spin it right back at them, so that there's nothing concrete on you and you don't end up making a faux pas and saying something you shouldn't, like the chief of police. I forget exactly where, but he was with the force for 22 years, and then one of his subservient guys who was black said, well, hey, I'm a bit concerned about the coup, so how about I stay home because I'm in a high risk category? And the chief of police said, well, what are you on about, mate? You're young, you're healthy, you're fit, you're not in a high risk group, you're kind of more middle class than I am, you're chalk ice. And for those two words, yeah, exactly, that ended 2 decades of service. He was terminated immediately.
Oh, Jesus.
No more job, no more pension for him.
Wow.
And according to the tribunal, he said 2 offensive things. One was calling him a chalk ice. The other was saying that he was more white than the chief of police was. So calling somebody more white than you is apparently offensive. So yeah, white means evil, according to the police.
I mean, I've been saying this for years, and especially since I discovered Jason's lexicon from the Go Free book. Like, the whole anti-white narrative shit, it is so ever present. It's in our faces every fucking direction we look. Like, that's why we're having a good time, or that's why we're having a better time now, getting regular folks to start realizing why they need to throw in their lot with nationalists and patriots. Because, like, what do you think their kids are getting taught at school? If the cops are this bad and the people on TV are this bad and the politicians are this bad, Well, how do you think they're going to get taught at school? They're going to be like, oh, you're white. Well, that's too bad. You were born evil, Missy. So you're going to grow up to be evil. You need to be impregnated by a non-white. Let's import some Africans to give you mixed race babies. Like, that's the kind of bullshit that they're going to be teaching in schools if we don't break this trend.
Yes, it is. It's called decolonizing our history. That's what
It's
they're
called
pushing out.
genocide is what it's called.
Yeah, that's one of the UN's definitions of genocide. But anyway, speaking of white pills, but funny you mentioned the police. A very, very a personal big favorite YouTube content creator of mine, Crime Bodge, successfully got PC Mark Knight convicted for headbutting a member of the public.
Oh goodness!
Okay. Yeah, that was about a month ago, and also, thanks to me helping donate and share his stuff, I do have a direct line to him. So yeah. If I ever get into trouble with the police, I know exactly who to call. Well, that's called doing your service.
Oh, see, my version of doing my service is going out and getting into trouble with the police, but that's just me.
Please.
I'm majority.
To be fair,
so.
there is a place in all movements for civil disobedience. Now, with the way that things have been for us the last decade or so, it has been very dangerous for people who are nationalists or who care about the identity of indigenous peoples. It's been difficult for us because of the anti-white narrative and how weaponized cancel culture has become against especially white men. But the narrative is shifting, and we are entering into an era now where regular folks that never cared about any of this culture war shit are starting to reject the media and not believe the news and shit. Now, I know it's not everybody yet, but it's a lot more people than it ever was. So the whole optics game is changing. And soon we're going to be able to be more brazen. We're going to be able to take firmer stances because we're going to have more cultural support from the communities around us. That's the main reason why we have to start building healthy, smart communities that care about nationalistic stuff and our history and our patriotism and who our people are, that care about Western civilization, because you're going to need that community support when you do civil disobedience. We're going to need to have those aldermen, those local judges, those local police officers who are young men that grew up in this environment and are ready to fight back against it however they can. And if that's looking the other way while you do something civilly disobedient, or even helping you do something more overtly illegal than that just to get the job done, we're going to have built that from the ground up with our community works and building a newer, better structure for our people and our countries.
I think that's also similar to just bring up the MGTOW movement again. They have got a thing of nobody notices what I do until I don't do it. And so with so many men being affected by this, particularly straight white men, of course, because they are just the epitome of evil, just walking away.
They're the Satan in the original sin.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And whatever they touch turns to shit.
As the feminists say, where have all the good men gone? I
Exactly.
love that. That's my favorite thing.
Well,
yes.
I say to those feminists, very simple. They're dating women who get the bloody point. To quote
They're not dating women.
Yeah, whenever I've heard feminists say, "Where have all the good men gone?" I'm like, away from you because you're a toxic bitch. That's why.
I would just say they have gone to the good women. It's much snappier and much more.
Yeah,
stable.
true. They've gone to the good women. Exactly.
I think they've gone their own way.
Or they've retreated to basically sections where those toxic individuals cannot be found. But ultimately, try and interpret them. Just look at the big double GG. Everyone knows who I'm talking about there. Back in 2014, they love to just infect everything.
Yeah.
But me personally, just be blunt and honest with them, and quite often be very, very aggressive with them. They always bow down. They always do.
Well, that's what I think Patrice O'Neill used to say, that the only way to win the game is to not play it.
Yes,
and therefore a lot of people do leave. And so it's not just feminists saying, where have all the good men gone? But it's regular women as well, because they're kind of becoming aware now as well to realize that the hookup culture is not something that they wish to be a part of, because it is jeopardizing their future dating prospects, and therefore they would rather find a more conservative gentleman in order to be able to settle down with and have a family, because they do not wish to be working as much but wish to be taken care of. But the current laws, especially the family court and divorce laws, do not permit that to happen for a successful man who is aware of the laws and therefore doesn't wish to settle down with a woman. So they're knowing what they did have so good because they don't get it anymore.
Yeah. It's almost like society works best when men have more rights than women. Think of that, ladies and gentlemen.
I offer no comment.
No, it's fine. Now, I don't know if I would frame it as rights. I would say men and women are different. And as such, their place in society should be different to reflect that. And that doesn't mean that I think that Sharia law should be enforced or whatever. What it means is culturally, we have lost our way from the patriarchy that made us great. And that doesn't mean that women are subhuman. I definitely don't think that. But I do think it is a disservice to our young girls, and it is a purposeful lie to our people at large to try to get women to be men and men to be women, because that is like the same satanic inversion of morality that's pushed everywhere else by our enemies. They want us to be debauched. They want us to be involved in porn and hooked on drugs and not care about family. They want women to be more like men and men to be more like women because they know that makes us weak and destroys us. And I think that culturally we have to undo that damage by showing what a strong, successful, powerful, stoic man is in the West, while also getting good women to teach young girls to be that positive archetype of a woman to the young girls. Because the great man and the great woman make great children and have great families. And that's what built the West, and we have to start getting back to that. That's why it's primary that we have to stop sending our children to these cancerous public schools where they're taught all this garbage.
Yes, completely correct. It's just as well patriarchal alternative is building up a homeschooling curriculum.
And as well, there's another group called White Rose and Thorn, which is also doing great community building too, and I'm helping them grow because they're really small. They have a stream channel called This Is Why We Fight, and they're doing similar community building things as Patriotic Alternative, so I help them grow too. But please continue.
That's fantastic. But also just to draw a parallel, that they do say that the end of civilizations tend to be when the gender identities either get swapped or they get merged beyond recognition. That is, of course, what led to the end of the Greeks, the Romans, Carthaginians, even Egyptians, really. That it's all the same. That is their endpoint. But also tying into what Dr. Jordan B. Peterson has said, that your rights are my responsibilities. So if you're trying to say that men should have more rights than women, kind of yes, but I think there's a nicer way to frame it, which is that the men have more responsibilities as well, and therefore it's kind of with the freedom, with the possibility to succeed is also the possibility to fail. And you only get to do more and have more things to you if you're actually going to earn them. And men are more likely to be risk takers than women, in which case they tend to accumulate more. They're often at the top and also at the bottom. It's not just men being successful, it's men being risk takers. And so some win massively and others lose magnificently as well.
See, I have a much more just open and shut option, which is let everyone do whatever the fuck they like, but then they should be responsible for what comes of that, and we should not attempt to skew expectations for fairness' sake. So, I'm 100% with the idea of, look, if some women want to have office jobs, if some women want to go into jobs that are predominantly male, they can go for their life, but they can't expect like a disability ramp.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like,
I don't want weak firefighters who can't pick people up to save their lives just because some women want to be firefighters. No, if you want to be a firefighter, you better be an incredible buff Amazon woman. And see, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that.
This is why we have lost our way, because a meritocracy is good. A patriarchy is good for building the civilizations that succeed. Look how our civilizations were succeeding until the cancerous lies of those who shan't be named, the Marxism, the Bolshevism, all of this bullshit started to take away all the foundation of the structure of society that made us build great societies. And to go back to men and the women thing, I think that in a meritocracy, if a woman wants to eschew the path of motherhood and building a family and being a caretaker and go into that market and compete for whatever reason, then by all means, give her the freedom and the legal right to do that, but don't give her a leg up. let her compete, because let's look at it this way. If a man wants to go into a universally dominated field of women like caretaking or nursing or something, well, maybe he's just genetically going to be terrible at that. I don't want him to be given that place because he's a man, and it should be the same for a woman. Like if a woman wants to be a firefighter, well, if she's 5'2" and can't lift a sack of potatoes, then sorry, you don't get to be alive. You don't get to be on the life-saving crew. I'm sorry, lady.
Yeah.
You just can't. Like you don't make the cut. And it should be the same for everything that we have laid out for us in society. And when it comes to business, if that's cutthroat, well, if sociopathic or psychopathic leaning men are the ones that are best at that, and we think that leads to us having a better society and stronger businesses and better politics, those people are going to be the ones that make the cut. And if you're too soft for that, or you don't have the gumption or the drive to work in that field, well, then you don't get to succeed in that field. And I think that if you make it about gender quotas or race quotas or age quotas or whatever the hell else, all that equality nonsense, you are directly destroying one of the primary pillars that made our civilizations great, which is a meritocratic patriarchy. And we need to move back towards that, not just legally, but culturally. We have to teach our children that those things are valuable and why the greatness of our societies existed in the first place.
Well, we are creating a culture where we are celebrating and enabling weakness. And you know what? Not only is that is bad for the weak people that benefits, because you need to be able to rely on yourself. Because here's the thing: if you're relying on someone else to help you in every aspect of your life, they're going to let you down. And I hate to say that. Like, oh, it's infuriating. It's infuriating seeing these people want to enable some grand, daddy or mummy government that will protect them, because it won't. It let them down over and over and over again.
I mean, what makes me laugh this year, right? Has anyone here, just out of curiosity, and asked this to the chat and anyone who will be watching this after the stream's over?
Okay.
Can anyone here, has anyone here ever encountered in person someone say the government really cares about me?
I haven't.
No. How about you, Wasp?
In a way, yes.
Oh.
No, I mean actually say it though. Actually say it straight up. The government really care about me.
Only insofar as the NHS is concerned, but in that, yes.
Okay.
I guess. Okay. How about anyone in the chat?
Anybody in the chat? Anyone had, or even on the Cabal Discord, you guys listening over here? Any of you ever heard someone directly talk about the government caring for them and having their best interest at heart?
Yeah. Wow, it's almost like total silence. Oh, well, Mr. Marsh.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it seems like I'm not getting any feedback other than jokes and stuff.
Oh, Mr. Marshman says yes. Okay. How so? Oh, hey, 3 of 12's here. My ex said shit about the common good. Yes, the common good, aka the greater good.
I'll tell you what.
The greater good.
The greater good.
I tell you what though, it's like the most strange of people will buy into this mind cancer. Like, not using any names, but there was a girl who I will simply call E on my friends list on Facebook, and I used to get in arguments with her a lot around about a year and a half ago because she was a Corbyn supporter. And in her comment sections, when I would get in these arguments with them, there was one of her friends who I don't know directly, I only know through her, and I will simply call him W, and he would agree with me and say, yeah, no, Corbyn bad, he's not good at this stuff. The tables have turned because she has now been saying, fuck these lockdowns, fuck these tiers, none of it works, and they are terrible for people. And then Mr. W has actually been disagreeing and thinking that people need to be forced to wear masks for everybody around them's health. It's fascinating, the weird, just like, Venn diagrams of society that just aren't matching up. It's like the most people are believing these things, and the
narrative is completely unpinned in reality now, and that's why we've gotten to a point to where they are having to use fear, totalitarian force, and actual gaslighting propaganda, as well as the usual censorship, to even make the narrative function, because it's too gone from reality. It's
It's
just
not
too
even
gone.
real.
It doesn't connect at all.
It's not
Well,
even,
that's
it's
just
not
being
just
tribal
real.
instead of having a main philosophy.
No,
Yeah,
no, but
and
this is the thing though. This is the thing though. It's not even tribal because these two people completely swapped the sides that they're on. The one who was being pro-socialist is against all of these very domineering things. It's like people are going mad. Although it might be because they're young and their opinions are changing. But
or it could be just hormones. It could be hormones.
she is pregnant, so it's possible.
It could be
Oh,
that.
don't.
Can't
Oh,
rule
don't,
that out.
Oh, don't. I mean, during this year, like I said, I became an uncle, and I'm gonna be an uncle again this time later this year. So,
Congratulations.
yeah, I know, and I'm the oldest in the family. So my dearest mother's like, "Well, when the hell are you gonna make me a grandparent?" I'm just like, just give her that like disappointing, really, woman.
I'm glad I never get that from my my parents. I'm likely not to become a father, and probably not going to become an uncle until way long in the future when my younger cousins grow up. So that didn't happen to me for a long time.
Well, then you're not technically an uncle by definition, but
What is that, like step cousin?
no,
Great-
your second cousin. Your
Is
second
that
cousin.
what that is? Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, I understand that my auntie has like 4 kids, and they all call me uncle. So
Yeah, it's close
It's
enough
fine.
interpretation. But I don't know. I mean, I've always had like a twisted sort of view on
I'm
parenthood.
sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but Doombibber. Doombibber is a funny name. In the
Hormones
chat,
make women based.
he said, "Who knew? Who knew hormones make women based?"
Oh well,
It's funny.
It's called
sorry to
not being on the
interrupt.
pill.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. To interrupt, right? You guys remember the story about the what's it called, Travis Stoke lawsuit regarding the transgendered individual?
I don't think so.
Is Travis Stoker the
Yeah,
boy
Travis Stock.
in
No,
Yeah,
it's
Texas?
Travis Stock is the place.
Yeah, Travis.
Oh,
yeah,
Plymouth.
that was the lawsuit over the what was it?
This was
Hormone
the
replacement therapy.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. That
This
place.
was the one. Is this in the UK or the one in Texas in America?
the one
UK.
in the UK.
UK.
Okay.
Yeah, well, basically, the top comment when that thing came out, and obviously the hospital lost the lawsuit. Literally, the top comment I think was on Reddit said, "Woman takes testosterone, her logical thinking improves."
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny and mean. I approve. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, oh damn it, Ugh. Where are the Dragon Balls when you need them? Where are the Dragon Balls? Or the magic lamp from Arabia?
The greater good, Nancy Drew. The greater good means let's not help people. Let's not pull people up. Let's drag everybody down. That's what for the greater good means.
And I'd like to take a moment. I just realized Green and Pleasant Land donated 17 lemons over on D-Live. Thank you very much, my friend. Thank you.
Hey.
Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year.
But- So wait,
I
yes,
think
just
the
curious.
great. Oh,
Sorry,
Go
sorry
ahead.
to interrupt, but yes, I just got a question. Are you gonna take them to Cave Johnson's lab? Those lemons.
Who? What? I'm sorry, I don't get the reference.
It's a Portal reference. It's screw making lemonade. Smash those lemons.
Oh, okay. I haven't played Portal in like a decade.
It's a great quote.
I would say just a question for the chat. Is Cave Johnson the ultimate Karen? Yes or no? Discuss in the chat.
I don't know enough about him, sadly.
Let's just say
in terms
that
of the greater good, if
go
I may, my take on it is it's essentially to say, yeah, we're doing the right thing. It's just you can't understand it. So it's trying to pull one over in almost virtue signaling kind of way, but it's just to say, yeah, we're the good and you're the bad. But I don't have to explain myself. Trust me. Sources, me.
I have some community links that I'm going to share here. You guys can talk amongst yourselves, and I'm just going to be sharing people that are part of the white positive sphere, are part of the Brexit movement, are part of nationalism and patriotism in our countries. I'm just going to be sharing those links in chat for you, for everyone listening to check out at their leisure and decide to follow if you want. So you guys talk about British things while I do that.
Okay.
Well, I'd go on to the male and female things if it's okay with you.
Sure, go
That's
ahead.
kind of how my channel started anyway.
Sure.
Because my channel started through the MGTOW ideal, if you will. And so in terms of male and female, that I think women have always had a lot more power historically as well, even before universal suffrage, which I would say was a mistake. I would go back to property owners, because then it's deciding where your money goes instead of just being bribed. And also you can see that in wars as well, that it's, oh yeah, send away the men, but you've got to protect the women, and, you know, women and children first to be protected when a ship goes down and all that. But the point is that the women would have to hold themselves accountable insofar as not have the instant pleasures of sleeping with a load of men, and instead wait a few years to find somebody worthwhile and just stay with them and keep them, so they don't get the instant gratification when they have most of their power being a younger age. Late teenage, early 20s, that is when a woman has most of her power, culturally or societally speaking. Whereas a man, of course, has to do the harder work in order to build up a good reputation and something worthwhile. And then he's most powerful in society later on, when he's got his fingers in different pies and has influence over other people. So he doesn't really have an easy out in order to have fun at a younger age. But of course, by allowing a hookup culture, then he kind of does, but that is to the detriment of women. So as soon as women get the idea that they do have responsibilities, which is to not go for instant gratification, but instead to delay to find somebody worthwhile, I think that has to be the key turning point, because then that is going to get rid of a big nanny state, because women are saying at the moment they can sleep around with whoever and the government will take care of them. And so they're voting in those kinds of policies and a bigger state. Whereas if you can simply say, no, you don't need that, just find the right guy, stay with them, and then you'll have a happier, more fulfilling life, and you do not need government intervention. That is also why you see married women tend to be more conservative than single women. So that is the cultural shift that you need to make. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that, well, if you believe the statistics, also significantly happier.
And yeah,
well.
the person in chat said, oh, that's Matt. Hi, Matt. Matt said that old Papa Molyneux, he says that that's called the sexual marketplace. I think that's a good way to phrase that. I think that's good.
Actually, I forget who said it. I can't remember if it was Stefan Molyneux, Jordan Peterson, or somebody else said it themselves. I don't think this is an original idea, but this is a known idea. Is that if you look at it like a graph versus value versus value, if you take men and women to, let's say, 18, women significantly are above the so-called market threshold compared to men. But then till when you get to around the age of, let's say, about around 30 to 35, then it flips. So that women basically just consistently slide down the scale in terms of value, whereas men's peaks at around between 35 to 45, and then they slowly start to curve off again. But that's because there's a difference in value. Because when it comes to women, women are valued based on fertility, whereas men, it's social status.
And social status, of course, it involves different things like family status, wealth status, what kind of job he has, as far as how that's reflected either monetarily or its social status, that kind of thing. And it's not just looks and ability to procreate. It is a bunch of other things that men have to compete for in a marketplace separate from women.
Exactly. This is why, like an absolute ugly freaking golem like Harvey Weinstein can get beautiful women to get on their knees for him, but let's say someone like me, Zen, or Wasp here, we don't necessarily have that ability, even though we're definitely a lot younger and better looking.
I think we more need to I think we more need to teach people but that's not something of value.
Well, yes, but this is the problem, though, is that this is based on literally millennials worth of evolutionary psychology. And the problem is we're now trying to straight up deny that, and no matter how many times you try and deny evolution, it will always win. I mean, it reminds me of...
That's what I say all the time. We have truth and science on our side. Nature itself is on our side. We are going to win.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if you guys ever came across the equality paradox study in Norway from around 2011, 2012.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that. That's a good one. I tell people about that sometimes.
Yeah, well, for those who are unaware, basically, this is a guy who is, I believe he's an investigative journalist, but he decides to investigate because he finds out Norway was at the time he had the highest levels of gender equality. And you try looking at gender equality in terms of the workplace, and it was among the highest for gender inequality in terms of the workplace. As in, let's say fields like STEM, such as engineering and stuff, had very little women representation, whereas those which were dominated by female spaces, such as childcare and teaching, were overwhelmingly dominated by women, even more so than countries like the United Kingdom.
Yeah, it's gone full circle. It reminds me, there's a guy called Andrew Kirby with his own YouTube channel and podcast, and he got a great phrase, which is that tradition has the answers to questions that we've forgotten.
Yeah, and I know how everyone else feels about this, but I would dare argue in the West, the scale should be set very biased towards men.
Yes.
Now, I know.
so?
Well, for instance, if you look at the education system, pretty much since the 70s, it's been super biased towards women.
Yes.
Now, I would argue if you make the entire education system biased towards men, because let's be frank here, ladies and gentlemen, it is men who build, maintain, and defend civilizations. Why the hell would you give those men, especially the next generation, why would you give them such a shitty hand?
On the other
logic?
hand, education in the modern day is shit regardless, so maybe we can consider that success as to men just being able to get out of that shit early.
Well, that's true. I went straight into college, into a STEM field, and thankfully next year, after I'm done with my probation at work, I'm officially contracted. So yeah, hopefully I can climb the ladder very quickly.
Well, I'm a college dropout who gained nothing from his education, but at the same time, I don't want anything from my education. So,
my case, I gained a lot of skills and intel and knowledge, so very useful knowledge in terms of how to build stuff. So there is that, but ultimately, I'm not sure how everyone feels about this in the chat, but I would argue, especially if you got sons, nephews, or potential grandchildren, for those that are much older, for the older viewers here, why on earth would you want to give them such a terrible education? Because they're basically set up to fail.
Let me interrupt for just a second. All the links I've shared now, these are all for UK-based content creators. And they especially focus on nationalistic content, truth content, content that is about your society, your politics, your news, and what you can do about it and who you can network with to make a difference. So all those links that I shared are good to follow for all these great things. Definitely check them out and see which ones work the best for you, or follow them all.
Yes.
So anyway, Kizza, you would just ask something to the other panelists. Go ahead.
Yes. So like I said, how do you two feel about setting the entire, basically the I guess you could say the building blocks for the net for generations to come, setting it completely biased towards men, well, biased towards boys, as it used to be up until really the 1960s?
I think you don't have to, because it doesn't have to be biased towards men. It's simply what you said earlier, that men are the type to build and maintain society, which is if you just angle things towards useful information, then it's going to essentially favor men anyway. So you don't need to make it biased intentionally, because a lot of the times that these kind of interventions anyway have unforeseen consequences. So you don't need to pick a favorite side. You just go with your, I suppose, what is best from a method perspective, and that will have the best outcomes anyway.
Well, too straight, but I mean, what I do find utterly hilarious is that we're celebrating putting so many women into further education, but then they're complaining about why they can't find men who earn more than them.
Yep.
Men having poor jobs, women most effective.
There's another good one about that, which is in the UK. I worked out because my significant other went to university. I didn't. And so she's in a lot of debt and I'm not. So I thought, okay, well, what does it take to actually pay it back at the rate that the government says? And you have to pay it back within 30 years. If you don't, it gets wiped in the UK, at least. So in order to pay it back, you need to average the top 10% of income earners in order to pay it back. And I'm sure we remember Tony Blair's idea of education, which is that 50% of people will go to university. So what that means is wanting 50% of people to go to university when only 10% of people would be able to pay it back.
Yep.
That's,
so it's broken from the outset.
Yeah, I mean, AA actually, to do a small plug in Shilling, AA did a brilliant video on this. I believe it's called Joe Biden, Neil Kinnock, and Social Mobility.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
which is which is a brilliant video ripping apart this idea of social mobility.
Yeah, he makes a lot of really good videos. I like his content a lot.
I know he needs to get me on Popular Opinions because I've got many, and I'm sure I could really test his.
Well, he might have you on. I don't think I get to go back on his show anymore. I don't think I'm good for his image.
Well, every time I try and look for your videos, they're always hidden behind membership walls. So,
well, Yizz, never forget that you were only on one of Dev's streams for like 10 minutes, and that stream got fucking yeeted. So
that's not true. That's not true. That's not how
your presence annihilates streams.
No. That's not exactly true.
I know. I'm teasing.
No, what happened was it's true when you speak positively about white people or Western civilization, you do get censored and yeeted a lot. But here's the problem. It wasn't until drunk, high out of his mind Scrump said the gamer word several times drunkenly on a stream that was on the front page of YouTube where he got demonetized because of that. Then, when his channel was under investigation, someone at YouTube flagged the video I was in because they hate white people, because they're anti-white assholes, and said that he had to remove that video to get his channel remonetized. That is the only time that came into question, was after it was already under investigation. Me saying what I did was under the radar enough to not hurt his channel.
I know.
Yes,
it was only when the anti-whites directly looked at it and they were like, "Oh no, we can't be having this."
So if anyone in the chat is in Dev's Discord, just give absolute hell to Scrump in a very polite manner, saying this is all your fault. Ooh. Yeah, it's all Scrump's fault. He's the reason Dev's now demonetized.
In fairness, it's Scrump. Dev should have known better.
Well, yeah, but I mean, he was ironically polite when we did Dragons of Dissonance, which please do check it out. That was a great little video with me, Yizz, Scrump.
I'd love to do more of those one day. We need to do more of those. Those are fun.
Yeah. I mean, I would say if YouTube was like how good as it was like 5 years ago, we could easily do like a community Cards Against Humanity. But today, that's not a good idea.
No,
I do find it funny that the censorship ideas, of course, come from the west coast of America, and therefore in England, with our lovely Fairy Tale of New York song, that gets censored. Of course, they don't like to say their F word, which I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say it on this stream or not, given that again it's Californian censorship.
Well,
with that in mind, yeah.
Well, sorry to interrupt. Just call it a Lancashire meatball because they're technically the same thing.
Yes, it is a Lancashire meatball, but it's also a bundle of sticks.
That is true, but I prefer to say Lancashire meatball because then only people who are English will know what we're talking about.
Well, the similarity that I wish to draw is that, of course, English and other European languages have similar roots for their words. So you might remember a particular ideology which ran live through Europe for the Second World War, which was to do with a bundle of sticks, and that being together is stronger than being individual. And of course, that word fascist has exactly the same root and means the same as the English word.
For faggot?
So if you wish to... Yes. Yes, they are the same.
That's funny.
Fascist
we must come together, countrymen. We must unite into a great and strong, unbeatable faggot.
Yes, that is exactly what you were saying.
My friends, my countrymen, we must unite and be the greatest faggot the world has ever seen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Milo
Fusion.
Yes, Milo would approve of that. I think Mr. Milo Yiannopoulos would be a-okay with that.
Oh, fuck him. I don't care. He's a turd. I don't like Milo.
His faggot energy, it's over 9,000!
Yeah, I just thought that was a
mandatory
little
carry.
parallel draw.
Yeah, but I do think though that one positive sense it is starting to shift. Like me, when I was going through my local city centre back in Halloween, I did see a good posting about the cashless society, and let's just say I did drop some many intellectual points on there, which got a lot of people thinking. They're like, "Yeah, screw that. I don't. I want solid cash. Screw having a cashless society."
Mm-hmm.
Well, what about cryptocurrency?
Well, cryptocurrencies, I do think they should be separate because
Well,
I actually
here's the
think
thing. Real quick, let me speak my piece. I'm not thoroughly educated on how blockchain works on a technical level, but I've learned enough about cryptocurrency to know that if you try to start building a society with it, couldn't someone with a lot of capital that could buy into it really mess with your country or mess with the currency itself if they have like Rothschild level of money?
Yes,
like
as
they
is the
would
same
be.
with any currency. That's
Okay,
why North
alright.
Korea is the best at counterfeiting dollars, and why there were
Okay.
several operations in the Second World War to dump counterfeit money in both the UK and Germany.
Okay.
Yeah, I
So,
mean,
yes.
The thing that I worry sometimes when I hear people talking about, having a cashless society. Excuse me, I got choked up. Having a cashless society, because I worry that it might not be a smart step forward. I think maybe for certain things we shouldn't go completely digital because of look how corrupt the election rigging was in America recently. Like I find it hard to believe that unless they wanted to go technological with it, it probably would have been harder for them to get away with that shit. And so I don't know. I just maybe I'm completely retarded, and that's a dumb thing to think about crypto. But I don't know.
Bring back pottery shards.
Yeah, funny. I mean, to do another bit of small plug-in and shilling, I actually did talk about this greatly with the ends justify the means with All Minus One and his co-host Tank. So I'm sure Yizz could show. I'm sure Yizz won't mind that shilling. We went deep into this regarding the topics of Bitcoin, the origins of the Federal Reserve, what role currency actually plays, talking about the devaluation of currency itself. And I will say this right now, especially to Americans right now, if they had the mentality of 1776 and they looked up how worthless their dollar is today, oof,
They would be really mad. Yeah.
I mean, the level of madness, you will not see the level of madness like this until I think, to give you a comparison to an English perspective, when Maradona did the Hand of God in 1986. That level of madness.
Yes, but similarly,
Also,
Tim
the
Pool has
Alabaster
reported
brought
on
up a
this.
good point in chat that so many people are having their accounts shut down for wrongthink or being associated with wrongthink now that it probably would be wiser for us going forward to have some kind of real currency, like something based on gold, something that is physical, that has real value and worth, that maybe we can physically hold on to. But then again, I mean, every system's got problems and rich people can fuck with everything. So who knows? I feel like that maybe it's because I'm old and a hillbilly, but I feel like that the more we go digital, the more we're giving power to people that can take it from us that we can't easily solve with a shotgun. And I like being able to solve problems with a shotgun.
The dollar is already based on physical things, and it's still going to shit.
No. Well, here's the things then, right? If you look at prior to when the Federal Reserve was founded in 1913, the dollar itself was based on gold and silver, and quite literally,
then the country made it a crime to not give up your gold.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the reason, assholes.
Yes, so because the public owned a lot of gold, basically the at the time, because there wasn't such thing as a Bank of America at the time, because I believe Bill said it was destroyed in 1860. And then obviously the Federal Reserve came in 1913. So basically, because of that, because there was no quote unquote way to devalue the currency, the dollar itself stayed very strong, which gave the average person a huge buying weight. And to put that in perspective, a so-called police officer back then was effectively being paid the equivalent of like $1 million or so back then, compared to today, where they're earning what, $30,000 to $50,000, depending on where they are.
Bloody hell!
Yeah, that's the sheer power of and also Bill. Obviously, another bit of plug in here. Chilling. Bill did a great video on this, talking about how much dollars have been printed just in the past year. It's between 18 to 23% of all dollars ever printed just in 2020.
Yeah,
which is just outrageous.
It's
up to a third
outrageous.
now for the UK and the US. That's what Tim Pool has been reporting.
Already,
also the if you look in just America, I can't speak for the UK because I'm never over there. But in America, just in the last month or two, I have noticed the price of everything going up a lot. Gas, snacks, food, bread, milk, and of course I'm not counting bullets and weapons and stuff because I don't buy them anymore. We already stockpiled that before it got too bad. But like even the prices of things that you might not expect, like toilet paper. slowly getting a little more expensive.
But
Bread, eggs, everything's getting a little more expensive because guess what? When everybody has to rely on a thing that has fake scarcity for trade, if you create a lot more of that thing, then people just use more of that thing for the same bullshit. Like it's just it's so moronic to think that, oh no, this is going to be fine. Let's just print another $8 gorillion. Everything's going to be fine. It's not.
There's one positive.
Yeah.
The one positive is that the minimum wage laws as they stand mean a lot less now.
That is
Yeah,
true.
exactly. The rich get richer and the poor continue to be fucked like always.
Well, I would say
No, I'm not a fan of minimum wage.
no.
I don't like it.
I
No, I don't like
personally
minimum wage either. But still, like it's
Good. It now means a lot less.
It's proof in the pudding.
I hate this take on minimum wage. I think it's the only thing stopping us from going full cyberpunk wage slaves.
No. You're wrong about that.
Here we go.
Here's the thing. No. Here's the thing. Okay. I'm not a collapsitarian, but if this ever, if we strike a minimum wage, it's going to show people quick, fast, and in a hurry that they are being replaced by people who are being shipped into our countries by our complicit conservative governments to replace us as wage slaves. And then our people are going to be like, oh shit, this has to stop. And then we might actually march on Parliament and hang those people from trees like they deserve.
Yeah, but I mean,
so your take on the minimum wage is similar to my take on COVID laws, which is fuck it, we've gone this far, let's make it worse just so that everyone rises up.
No, because the wage thing is different. The removing minimum wage only affects minimum wage things at first. Yeah. And then people will start to notice the change happening and why. It's like, oh, well, hey, why is the job wanting to pay me $4 less an hour now? Why is this wanting to pay me $3 less an hour? Why are the prices of these things still the same and going up if I'm getting paid less? I think that is the point that we need, that matters with minimum wage. It's not like saying, oh, well, if we're already down the rabbit hole with the COVID lockdowns, let's just make it worse. That's different because that actually stops trade from happening. That actually stops communities from being communities. But at a government level, if they just strike a minimum wage, if life can continue on as it is, then people will immediately start to see, oh shit, we're being replaced because multinational mega rich assholes have bought and paid for our politicians. They're replacing our children and their future and the bell curve working class economy jobs with these fuckwads that they're importing from other countries. The people that have real careers and make money that aren't minimum wage are going to start realizing that. And I think that striking minimum wage, if we weren't already in these other dire straits things with the lockdowns and shit, would be an excellent way to start rapidly accelerating and making people wake up and realize what's going on. I think minimum wage is a crutch and a cushion that hurts us. It doesn't help us.
Yes, and another way, just to tie this back to education, I did see a fun take a little while ago. It's like, surely it shouldn't be focused on minimum wage, but how come you can be in governmental education for 15, 20 years and not be worth more than, $5 an hour?
There's that as well. But this kind of goes back to another aspect which really does annoy me, is that many, many years ago, you didn't necessarily need a so-called top education to get good money. That's what people seem to have forgotten. That was the case. If
still don't.
Yeah, I mean, and education has become cancerous now. Like
exactly.
Not just the indoctrination centers of public schools, but like all of the university level stuff. It's just a scam. It's been a scam for 30 years. Like it's not. It doesn't offer anything useful or real anymore.
Oh yeah, I mean, this is what makes me laugh, right? Because I live in the hipster equivalent of college towns, and like I see kids. Yes, Nancy, I won't need a vote. I just need the Queen to do what needs to be done because she has the power to assign anyone as leader of the country. But anyway, and then we can start the plan. But anyway, it makes me laugh when I hear about students working as baristas at the local Costa or freaking Starbucks or whatever. And they're in like 60, 70 grand's worth of debt. And I'm just like, I'm in no debt, and I'm earning over double what you're earning.
Mm-hmm.
Work that one out. And I'm just like...
it's another problem of the bloat of the quote-unquote fake elites. Like all of the upper middle class and middle class kids and their stupid parents that have bought into this narrative of of all the bullshit we talk about on our myriad channels, like just economically speaking, it's starting to destroy everything because they're in debt. Their parents are in debt. They don't have any property that isn't maxed out on mortgages and maxed out on equity loans. So they don't really own or have anything. And you've got these people that go to these colleges and go into shitloads of debt, taking up working class level jobs that working class families desperately need just to pay bills. And it's just, it's terrible. Like and the entire thing is cancerous because the globalist solution to that is just import more people, import more people, import more people. Got to keep that GDP up. Oh, look at this country. This market's doing good because that GDP is strong. Meanwhile, we're drowning in shitskins and terrible jobs.
Yeah, I mean, this another thing is to bring up, since you brought up GDP, it makes me laugh how people talk about GDP as if it's the main concept of how well a country's doing. No, it is not. GDP per capita, as well as like quality of life, are vastly better indicators. So, and I've had this argument with people, and I'm not joking. I'll say this for the UK folks here. The UK right now, well, in 2019, I will say, because 2020, let's pretend it didn't exist. 2019, the UK was a fair bit poorer than it was in 2007. But if you go and look at, let's say, the ONS, we're significantly richer. Do you know why that is?
GDP.
No. Because of GDP per capita and inflation.
I mean the pursuit of GDP, because that's what I'm.
Yeah, but yes, here's the funny thing. In 2007, the UK had a higher GDP than it does in 2019. If you look at it compared to, yeah, because I'll put it this way: in 2007, the UK's economy was worth $3.1 trillion. In 2019, it was worth $2.76 trillion. But if you're an idiot and go off the ONS's usage of the pound, it'll be significantly richer. But the difference was the pound back in 2007 was worth $2.10. Now the pounds back in 2019, a pound was worth $1.30. And also, you look at GDP per capita, the average person, quote unquote, has lost 10 grand, 10,000 sterling in that same time period.
Jesus Christ, I don't even have £10,000 in anything.
Exactly. Now, that's just how much, especially those who are below middle class, have been ripped off royally. And all these people who say, just need to import. No, all you're doing is trying to create a two-tier system. You're just effectively trying to create wage slavery.
See, I've never heard anyone saying that importing people is for the country's good. Whenever I hear anyone argue for a higher immigration, they always frame it as for the immigrants' good. And that's always what pisses me off. I've never even encountered those arguments.
Well,
that just goes back to the whole anti-white narrative and meme pathogens and white guilt stuff I go on about. Because what people in the world do that except us? We've been programmed to think that the original sin of caring about white people and the evil Satan of Hitler are this unforgivable evil that we must atone for forever by giving away our wealth and giving away our children's future to people who aren't us because of that bullshit narrative. Like that, there's no other people on earth except us that are like that, Zen, and it's bullshit.
I view it a much simpler way, and it's a continuation of attempting to give up everything in an attempt to let the weak continue being weak, as opposed to letting them, the argument that Sargon often makes is, well, if these people are actually going to be good for our country, if these people are actually going to be, hard workers, maybe their own country needs them to improve their own country.
Of course. That is a very valid point. And many of us, like Matt just said in chat, many of us have been able to see through this bullshit since childhood. Because a lot of us just have that natural, whether it's IQ or perception or good parenting or whatever combination it is, a lot of us have been able to see through this from a young age. But the problem is, so many of us have been lied to and intimidated and scared and manipulated into this horrible narrative that many people, like especially out west, there were people I knew that when I would ask them, man, like, why do you say that shit? Like, because, okay, I'm getting jumbled here because I get excited. A guy that I knew in Albuquerque that I worked with several times, I saw him at an activist rally. It was an activist thing, and this was before BLM was a big thing. It was over some This was in like 2015, I think. It was somebody got shot or there was some bullshit. And I noticed him there with these, what would come to be known as Black Lives Matter protesters in the year or two after that. And I asked him at the, not the office, but at the, what do you call it? The bursar's place at the university, because that's where we were parked. When we were getting ready to leave, I asked him, I said, why were you over there? Were you just like trolling for tail or whatever? And he's like, no, my sister's involved at the university. And if I don't show up for some of these things at least a little bit, my family will disown me.
What the
And
fuck?
that was heartbreaking. That was heartbreaking to me to hear that this guy I knew who was like into Warhammer 40K and D&D and other cool regular guy stuff and nerd stuff, who I knew loved America and had guns and was an otherwise pretty reasonable dude, was over there with those yahoos. And when I asked him about it, he was like, no, I don't really care about that stuff. But if I don't put on the show, you know, my family, it'll cause trouble with my sister. And, you know, she's all this, she's this blue hair at college and all that. And I'm just like, this is what we have to deal with. Like regular American men, like, why would they cut to this shit? It's because of the narrative that's been grandfathered in. Like, it's sick.
Well, this is why I ditched my family to live with my girlfriend, because I couldn't tolerate it, especially under 2020. It's sad, and as I've ranted in the Discord a lot, it's getting worse to the point where I'm starting to push away from even my grandparents, who were like parents to me, because they are just fully bought into these narratives, and it's like I can't look them in the eye anymore, because they just I look at them and all I can see is people actively ruining my life because they're just accepting all of this horrendous shit. Yeah. And I hate it because I love them both so much.
But here's the thing, though. Like, I know, I'm like, this is what I say to my people that are into ANCAP structures and bunker building and going off the grid and stuff. I hear you. I feel that, like, in my gut. Like, I'm of the ANCAP libertarian type because being born a hillbilly and all that. But like, that's not going to help us in the long run. We have to take control of our countries. These massive militaries, these massive governments, these giant corporations. If all of us that actually are aware of this just say, fuck it, and let's go build a compound, or let's get involved in some type of ANCAP structure, and let's just move off the grid and all that, well, eventually they're just going to kill us with drones and cruise missiles. They're going to erase us eventually, and if we just give up and don't fight, well, then we've already lost. And I know that might hurt some of you to hear, but you have to start jocking up, finding whatever's within you, and speaking about this to the people that are in your life, at your work, in your family. Let's say at your church, there's anti-whiteism or globalism at your church. You have to speak up about this. And if you use the language and dialectics that I share from Jason's Go Free book, if you listen to a lot of smart commentators like the ones I share, you are going to have the right language tools and the ideas in your head to start feeding these seeds of thought to the people around you and help them break free of this ugly anti-white narrative like we have. We have to. I'm not just preaching directly to you, Zen. I'm just using this as a platform to speak.
No, I will say, though,
we can't just give up on our families and just say fuck it, because that's what our enemies want us to do, and we can't give them that. We have to care. We have to dig in and win this, because we don't have anywhere to retreat to. We're done. Like, we are we are on the hill we're going to die on, whether we want it or not. So let's fight.
I will say not necessarily, because some people, they just turn their brains off. I don't want to give people the false hope. There are a lot of people these days who you'll try and explain these things to them, and they'll just stare at you blankly. And you know the stare once you've seen it enough times, where they've just turned their brain off to the opposing opinions. And it's the most depressing thing you can ever see.
Well, that's where sometimes you got to be really nasty and really literally emotionally destroy them in order to rebuild them. But going back to what Yizz was saying earlier about immigration, it reminds me of a lovely little video from 2010. Immigration, world poverty, and gun balls. If anyone has ever seen that, I will link it. If you haven't heard of it, I'm going to link it in the chat right now. But that's a brilliant video explaining the utter BS in terms of Americans' immigration policy.
What's it called again?
Immigration, world poverty, and gun balls. I just linked it. I believe it's from.
Shit. Okay, never mind. I was going to look it up and link it. Okay, fine. Thanks.
It's the equivalent. It was like a TED Talk, but before TED Talk was a thing.
Oh, I've seen this. Yeah, I've seen this before.
Yes, but it utterly rips this apart. And obviously, everyone talks about immigration. Because effectively, the type of immigration UK is basically enforced in certain countries. It's effectively it's almost like an economic capital of colonization, in a sense, where we're taking nurses and doctors from like Africa, Uganda, and that. And I'm just like, that cost them in those countries. It cost them a fortune just to train them up to be a doctor or a nurse, and you're taking them from a country where they're most needed. I mean, how can you not think of it in any other context other than being a equivalent of an economic colonist? You know, it's just
that goes back to Argon's point from earlier, doesn't it?
Yeah, and also like this, what goes to my point, like why the hell are we constantly importing people rather than training them up? Like, why not? I mean, a certain radio host who I will not name because ultimately he's a massive hypocrite, but he complained about what people saying, why don't we train our own? And I'm just like, well, that's what most countries do. If you just import, you're going to be lazy, and guess what? When they all decide one day to pack up and leave, you're screwed. You need to build. You need to have a trained force to the point where you start export. To the point where you need to export your labor, not
and
import.
Similarly, with regards to foreign aid, I think they say it's 27 times, as in it's 27 times cheaper to help somebody out in our own country than it is to bring them over here.
Well, yes, because I do remember Stefani making that point regarding the refugee crisis. But funny enough, AA did a brilliant video on this regarding foreign aid. Actually, another plug. He talked about how countries, our foreign aid to them from our Western countries, UK, United States, so on and so forth, can be worth 50%, as much as 50% of the country's budget.
Yes, it's integral, and at that point, it's no longer like teaching a man to fish; it is just giving them a fish.
Yeah, and
they're effectively vassal states in all but name.
Yes.
Yeah, in a sense,
Here's the thing: like if you build a man a fire, he'll be warm for an evening. But if you set a man on fire, he'll be warm the rest of his life.
That is true, yes. But it also makes me laugh. Like, I remember there was a thing earlier this year. I'm not sure you guys heard about this, especially in the chat. How it turned out the United Kingdom was sending foreign aid to China.
Yeah.
Yeah, like China's the second richest country in the world. They should
Can't say I'm surprised, honestly.
They should be sending us foreign aid. They should be sending us foreign aid for Pete's sake.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah, they don't do foreign aid, do they? They do debt trap diplomacy.
Oh, hey, 3 of 12. Good to see you here today.
Hey.
Yeah.
They lend you money in the hope
well.
you don't pay it back so they can take your land, like they've done with Trieste in Italy and how they're working through the European Union. And then, of course, Hinkley Point, where the nuclear power plant in the UK.
For those of you that want to be a part of our Discord, 3 of 12, just 3 of 12 showing up reminded me. I have a private Discord, but I shared an invite link to it in the chat here. That link will go bad, of course, in the next 12 hours or 24 hours or whatever. But if any of you want to come be a part of my little Discord, I'm trying to slowly build a Discord community. So if you like Discord and you like that kind of stuff, you're welcome to come on in.
Yeah, I mean, also another argument I'm sick to death of people hearing is that our foreign aid are there to help countries grow. I'm like, no, it is not. No, it is not. Okay, it's basically political bribery of the purest sense. I mean, how would you say that the mob paying off freaking homeless shelters are doing it because they're kind, or is it for political gains? Don't give me this BS. And ultimately, I would dare say, if I was ruling the island, I would not only terminate foreign aid, but I'd be claiming back all the money we've given away, because the state had no right to give away our taxpayers' money to these countries. Where did we?
Here's the thing, though. Like, I agree with that sentiment. But the reason that I warn against that kind of rhetoric is what's done is done, and unless we want to repeat the same flawed steps that our people who led us into brother wars took us into, we should not be focusing our effort and our government and our people and our activism towards making financial and resource demands from other countries. That only furthers the U.S.-Israel war machine resource hegemony. We don't want that. Like, as much as it sucks, and as much as our tax money has definitely been given to other countries, I don't want it back because that's war. I don't want war. It depletes our young males. It depletes our internal economies, and it keeps us ensnared. It keeps our governments ensnared in the Rothschild money web. And I want to get free of all that. And I don't think that that preaching jingoism is a good way to break free of all that, because then we'll just repeat the same mistakes our forefathers did.
I'd also go as far as to say that you don't want to take it back, because you've kind of got to remind people of the sting and the pain of which was endured. Even if people aren't aware of it at the moment, the minute that you stop it and can enlighten people on what has happened historically, as long as you keep that pain there, it's going to go at least some way in preventing it from being implemented again. But if you lay down the idea that, oh, it doesn't matter what happens because it can just be changed retroactively later on, then there's going to be less of a pushback for it being implemented in the first place. And the same goes, bringing it back to Brexit, with leaving the European Union, that what I said earlier about not being able to claim benefits for 5 years or being able to give it to children in other countries, that does not change for people who move to the UK from yesterday or before. It's only from today moving onwards, which, as I say, I think is worthwhile to remind people of the sting so that these kind of things do not come around again.
Well, I would agree with that, but the problem is you've effectively admitted there was a blatant injustice. Rather than trying to correct and try and backdate that thing, you're basically saying, okay, now it's fine. And then people are going to point out saying, hang on, this was A-okay then, why is it not A-okay now? And then you get into the whole hypocrisy aspect.
Gotcha.
No, I would say let bygones be bygones. Similarly to, it's the same argument trying to be used for quotas with the anti-white way in order to say, well, hey, you know, white people or men have had it so good for so long that we now need to flip the pendulum the other way and make it bad for them so that we can even out to be, you know, a net equality, because, yeah, now white people and men have to suffer because they did so well historically. It's the same argument, and I disagree with them both.
Yeah, and I think that if that anything that fuels negativity, that I'm sorry, let's just say anything that fuels negativity and puts it at the forefront of unification or a movement is probably going to fail. And that's one of the reasons that I push white positivity, white pilling, and just general positive community building, is because that is what you will get the attention of others with. Like, that's why I don't like going on about the Jews and all this other nonsense. Like, you can talk about the JQ till you're blue in the face. You can talk about the Rothschild money web that goes back to the early 1900s that started wars. Regular folks don't give a fuck about that, and they never will. They don't understand it. You'd have to sit down and teach them a course for them to even understand half the shit you talk about, right?
Yeah.
And so what you do is you just leave all that alone, even if it's true or not. I don't even know what about that stuff is true or not, because I don't have the thousands of hours to study it. So my message to nationalists that really care about their people, their ethnicities, is to leave all that alone and focus on positivity. Build better communities. Talk about the value of your history, of your people, of your language. Talk about the things that really matter that regular folks can understand, like the stuff we talked about here today: mass migration, the unfairness of governance, that kind of thing. That's the kind of shit that will change hearts and minds and get people unified. And I think if we start trying to get people to rally against other countries. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm one of those people that you talk about insofar as when you mention the JQ. Like, I have not looked into it enough, or at least I haven't been persuaded of it enough. So I'm one of those people you would have to sit me down and, you know, go through a course.
Yeah, and like, I've even
however,
looked into
that doesn't mean
myself,
we can't have this
wanting to know
conversation.
the truth of things. And I still, like, there's still thousands of hours of shit I would have to read and study and understand before I would even feel competent to speak on it. And so if that's the case with me, then there's no way you're going to be able to use an anti-globalist Israel-based agenda to change hearts and minds of the common person. The common person wants a good future for their children, and they want things to be fair. Like the Western person. I don't know about other people's, but my people, we want things to be fair and just, and we want our men to be stoic and to work for their families, and our women to be beautiful mothers. And that's what our people want. And if we make our message about building more of that, we are going to have a movement. And that's why we need to focus on the good stuff. That's why I like Patriotic Alternative and I like White Rose and Thorn. They focus on good stuff and building positive community for good reasons.
I just like to address Nancy Drew in the chat, saying money given from our tax dollars should be put up to a vote by the general population. And it is. The only issue there is a kind of a point that I made earlier with regards to universal suffrage, which is that if everybody can vote, then that means bribery instead of deciding where your money goes.
Right. And I understand what you mean, Nancy Drew, but you have to understand that democracy
what's happening.
is evil, because democracy is rule of the ignorant, needy mob over the productive few. And we need to move more away from liberal democracy instead of leaning heavily into it.
Well, I mean, I would counter that and say democracy has never been enforced in the West, or else we wouldn't have so many shitty policies.
No, that's why we have it. It's because of democracy. Like, we need more steps and more meritocracy and more patriarchy instead of the wide open liberal democracies that we have now, because that's how the cancer got in. That's what got weaponized against us. And we have to take steps to move away from that. I'm not saying we have to go to the extremes of getting rid of government and having monarchs rule us again. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying we have to have a better way going forward. Better checks and balances, better things that are structured to where it's not just referendums and large-scale voting, because we have to find some way to get people to earn the right to vote. Maybe make it to where you have to have a family, or you have to have this much positive contribution on a financial scale, or all these other things, and you have to meet at least this part of these, or 3 out of these 10 columns before you qualify to vote. Something like that, because this quote-unquote right to vote shit needs to go away. I don't think just because I live in freedom, I should have a right to vote. I don't think that's right. I don't think that a man or a woman, just because they exist, should have a right to vote. I think people should have to earn the right to vote like they do other things.
Well, do you know the history of it or not?
I know. Yeah, I was going to say, do you know how the UK
landowners
vote? Yeah, it was purely
landowners. That's a good way.
Yeah, but
Yes.
what's funny is this is hilarious, right? The landowner's point utterly debunks a feminist myth regarding voting rights in the United Kingdom.
Correct.
Yeah, and that vote. And
Say that one more time. I want to grasp it. Say it again. I want to feel it.
When landowners, there's an old feminist myth that says in the United Kingdom women got the right to vote in 1918. That is incorrect.
Okay.
Because technically speaking, landowners, the wives of landowners, actually were allowed to vote, and we have voting records of this going back as far back as 1843. And in 1918, not all women got the right to vote.
1928, I think.
No, it was 1918. All men got the right to vote. Only some women were allowed. And if memory serves, I don't think women got the full right to vote till after the war, after World War II. Reserves.
No, 1928, I believe. The point was that if you were fighting in a war, if you were sacrificing your life, then you should be able to choose which wars your country got involved in, because you're being sacrificed. That is why a lot of the women did not want the right to vote, because they did not want to have the draft as well. They didn't want to have to sacrifice their life, and therefore they did not want the right to vote. It was only when the suffragettes, who were the terrorists, the suffragists were peaceful, but the suffragettes were the domestic terrorists who burned property, blew things up, and killed people. It was only after them saying, no, we want everything good without anything bad, that women had the right to vote. Men would still have to go and fight and die for the right to vote. Women would simply have to exist.
Yep. And
are you telling me that we used to have the rule of service guarantee citizenship?
Yes.
Technically, yeah.
Yes.
Good old Heinlein Libertopia would be a great way to live, but we're a long way from that. We got to fight just to exist right now, because if we don't do something dramatic in the next few years, we're all going to be dead, and Western civilization is going to be gone. Yeah, because look at it, like. Go ahead.
I was going to say, on your point earlier where you were saying like the regular person doesn't care about all those things. That's why I don't want to say I'm an outsider, but I do sometimes feel a little bit like apart from the rest of your community, because I try to like look at things from a more results side of things. Then, because like, you know, I got in arguments with people, not in arguments, but there was a bit of a clash in the Discord about a couple of days ago. But I try to focus on just like, you know, what is the cause of these things? You know, how can you relate it to a person? That's why I say, well, someone shouldn't rely on the government, because the government's not always going to be there for you. I don't go into the deep things of like, oh, these people are behind the government and all that. It's just, no. The government's shit, and it'll never be able to help you. It'll never always be there to help you. You need to be able to help yourself. But people don't want that. Apparently, people don't want that.
Yeah, I mean,
a lot of people do. We just gotta get them there. We just gotta move away from it. Remember, we're suffering from 100 years of bioleninism. We have a lot of just garbage genetics in our people that have been incentivized to breed. That's why we have a lot of broken, let's say, we have a lot of genetic cul-de-sacs showing up in our cities because we have been broken and selected for our weakest to breed the most, while our most successful have either been killed in brother wars or they don't breed much at all because of the advancement of society and everything. So, you know, we really have a long way to go, and we have to start building with what we've got. So don't give up on your people. You just gotta work with them. It's like working with someone who is in the advanced class versus working with someone who is, you know, just starting. We're working with a population that's just starting to wake up. They ain't going to be the advanced class. They're going to be people that come from a long line of can'ts and won'ts and boo-hoo and woe is me, and I'm just going to bury my head in the sand and get high every day. These are the people that we have to do something with. Like we got to make mountains out of molehills. We got a lot of work cut out for us, but we got to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say, like, with the whole thing about votes and all that, I would dare say, if anyone advocates for a policy, you have to be made a victim of said policy in order for it to get passed.
Let me address something real quick that I saw over on DLive. I Miss Nick brought something up and said, when it comes to people going off the grid, it's sort of like what Yizz is talking about building communities with each other and avoiding their narrative. Now, I don't mean that everyone who wants to build their own community off the grid is wrong or not helping. What I mean is giving up on your state, giving up and saying, I'm just going to let that awful government in that state go away, and I'm going to build my little compound or whatever, and just eschewing everything else. That is not helpful. Building our own communities in pursuit of taking over our countries and making them for us again, that is noble and good. So what I'm saying is, if you're going to do your compound stuff or making your enclave, it's not, I mean, it should be in service of building a healthier community at large and helping us take control of our countries again. Because I don't think just putting your head in the sand is going to be a good way for us to live, because then we'll just get killed with missiles and robots and shit later when they're ready to erase us. If we lose control of our countries is what I mean.
Kizza, what were you saying there about being the victim of a policy? Could you just elaborate on that one?
Oh, okay. Mirror of Veritas. He's brought it up before. We did a show on it. But yeah, go ahead, Kizza.
Apologies.
Yeah, well, basically the idea is you see loads of people trying to push an idea, but they want to be the arbiters of the idea and not be the guinea pigs of the idea. Whereas if all the people who are in favor of an idea wanted to be a guinea pig of the idea, they will become victims of it, and therefore you will indirectly red pill them to be very much against the idea. So, for example, let's say you take a certain freaking what they call them neckbeard YouTube, red YouTuber who we shall not name. If you took him and his 200,000 odd freaking subscribers, if you made them all victims of the ideology they would make, you would effectively end up either making them, you have to make them homeless and butt naked.
Yep. And here's another thing. Like, I've been thinking about your Mirror of Veritas thing on the back burner a lot. Yeah. And one of the ideas I came up with of how you could reasonably put it into place is, if you are an elected official and you are and you put forward legislation that would affect the people that you represent, you're not allowed to put into place something that affects a demographic or a constituency or a zone or a county or whatever that you don't have stake in. So, for example, you're not allowed to make these wide-sweeping economic, let's call it economic rigging, where basically the socialistic move that all of our governments have taken in the last 50 years to suck up money from working class people and put it towards their stupid government programs and GDP propping. We should make people not even allowed to put forward these bills and programs and structures that don't affect them at all. I think that's wrong, and it has created this fake capitalistic elite that they basically know that no matter how bad they fuck up, they're still going to get paid, and their pockets are still going to be lined by lobbyist money and globalist money. And so we have to start enforcing some measure of real representation again. And of course, that's going to be a product of things that come later. But that's as far as my mind got with your Mirror of Veritas thing. Well, what do you think about that? Do you think that's the best way that we can try to realistically enforce something like that, or do you have another idea on it?
Well, that is true, but but the way I was thinking of it, and I know this is going to sound utterly ridiculous to many in the chat, but if I were to hypothetically have the power to make it straight up international law that is absolutely enforced to the letter of the law, you would see such a drastic shift away from so many terrible ideas. You'd effectively red pill an entire generation to our way of thinking by making them victims of it. So, for example,
well, what I mean is, you would have to get to a point somehow in power to make that the case.
Yes,
and
but
I don't like the only way to get there would be with like military force and a dictatorship at first. So I thought maybe we could start culturally trying to get people at the local level. That's why I used the local level. Like the people that represent your zones and stuff, the people in your state that you elect, they're not allowed to contribute to these wide sweeping policies that affect demographics and groups that they don't actively represent. I think that's about the only way we could really start seeing a movement towards what you're talking about.
Yeah, very much so. But a good example of this, I tell people, the best way to learn something is to be made. The reason I say the best way to learn something is to be a victim of it. Think of it like a child when you touch a hot oven. What happens?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, you get burned. Therefore, you know not to touch the oven again. So it's effectively like you could say a natural correction process or philosophy, however you want to call it, wait, Matt. Sorry, Matt. What did you want me to say again? Sorry, I'm a little confused. What do you need clarifying on?
But I mean, I always say like try and relate things to people as best you can. Like try and relate things to their experiences. So if you're trying to convince someone of why they shouldn't, try and get Gibbs from the government, try and relate it to something like the one I always go for is you've had a shitty landlord before, or presumably they have. Now think about when you had to get something fixed in the house, and you had to just keep asking the landlord, "Could you please fix this? Could you please fix this?" And you're not allowed to hire a plumber or someone, even if you've got the money, because it's the landlord's house. You're not allowed to get those fixes done, even under your power. You have to wait for them. And just imagine a landlord that's having to take care of millions of households and is and you will easily get lost up. Now, what if you could just get that fixed yourself? It might be a bit difficult. It might cost some money, but you can rely on that.
Yeah,
I think that it's better to go with a positive way instead of a negative.
People react to the negative easier.
But I think this is all too theoretical, and people would still have but what if? No, there's another way, and so on. Whereas if you show somebody something positive as a role model kind of way and say, yes, this is what I'm talking about, you can have exactly what I have that I'm doing here if you just do the work. Or if you do what I've done, if you copy my actions, you will copy my outcome. And it really is as simple as that. You don't need to say avoid this or don't do that or try not to meddle with that kind of thing, but simply, this is what I'm doing. This is what we're doing here. If you like what you see and wish to be a part of it, then this is what you have to do to get it. Because then there isn't any negotiation of, but what if, or but that won't work. It's just, no, this does work. I'm proving that it works. These other people are proving that it works because they're with me. If you want to be a part of it, do the same.
Well, that relies on
sort of like instead of having just these shoddy elected officials that are what they are, make them be like a new kind of pioneer, like a social science pioneer. Like, we're going to prove that this works, and we're going to do the A, B, and C. And, oh, well, this didn't work the way we thought. And then they've only wasted their time and some taxpayer money instead of wrecking society on their stupid plans.
Yes, well, you pick somebody out. I mean, I suppose you could say, if you want to go down the political route, like Nigel Farage or Donald Trump, that haven't come up through the swamp or through a political party, but have instead said, no, I've got my points and I'm pushing forward and I'm embodying it. In which case, if you wish to be a part of it, then come along with me. And evidently people do. Instead of trying to change it from the inside, they're changing it from the outside.
I would say to use Trump over Farage in that matter then. Because Farage definitely did come from political parties and a lot
Technically,
of stuff.
no. Well,
This
technically,
is
it's in.
like 2 decades.
I hate
No,
to interrupt,
he
but I have to interrupt. Stop. We have already gone past the 2 hour mark. I love talking to you guys, but I have things I have to do at the bank and other stores before they close today. So we're going to go ahead and start wrapping up today. I just checked Entropy. I just checked PayPal. We don't have any other paid donations to read. I just refreshed Cash App. Nothing over there either. So we've come to the part of the show where I thank our special guest for coming. Thank you, WASP, for showing up today. I'm going to link your channel in the chat and take a moment to shill whatever you want to shill and to talk about whatever projects that you have. And also remember, you're welcome to come back on my stream whenever you'd like.
Thank you very much. I have just checked and I've already gained 6 subscribers from appearing here. So thank you. And thank you to everyone else who's decided to come along. Yep, I upload videos at least daily, but it is mainly daily. It's news articles, current events, normally things that are more cultural and aren't really touched upon by other sources. And I hopefully give some level of analysis so it isn't too dry. And I do try and use influences from people that I listen to, because I listen to probably about 12 hours of news and podcast a day, simply because I speed it up through Player FM, an app that I use. And so I'm able to incorporate...
I consume about the same. I stay busy trying to figure things out too.
Exactly. So I try and incorporate their views as well and use stories that I've learned from years ago, because I've been in this kind of field for years anyway, as well as going through various articles until I find a particularly good one, in order to provide more than the title might lead you to say. I like to give people kind of low expectations so that I never let anybody down, and hopefully everybody's happy that decides to check in. That's me.
All right.
Oh, it's up. And so yeah, just before we go, I did post a link to anyone who's in England, contact us for the Mayor of London at the London Assembly, so you can file a formal complaint against the BLM. What do you call it? Fireworks display last night. So I'm sure just get them in, just send them in, and just give the Mayor of London an absolute heap of freaking negative complaints about it, so the Mayor Assembly can absolutely rip him apart. Do your job. Do your piece of service.
And I do nickname him Sadiq Kant for those reasons.
And of course,
I'm going to open up. I'm going to open up the D Live chest so people over on D Live can have a few lemons.
Yep. So
they'll be happening in about 30 seconds. And over here, everyone, go ahead. What?
I was just going to say, Zen, do you have anything to show?
Yeah, of course. My Twitch, I try to just stay as non-political.
That's what I was going to say, Kiz. I was going to move it over to him.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. On my Twitch, I try to stay as non-political as I can. I'm just trying to enjoy myself and enjoy fun games. We lapse into politics occasionally, but it's nothing as heavy as what we get into on these streams. So if you want to have an enjoyable evening, I normally stream there 11 p.m. UK time. So that would be, I think, 6 p.m. American time, EST.
Yeah, if it's
5-hour difference.
Yeah, if it's Eastern time, yeah.
Yeah, EST. So if you want just like a pleasant, relaxing evening, if you're in England, or just a relaxing afternoon in America, feel free to come by. We have fun.
Yes. Well, we're going to wrap up. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. Thank you for the usuals. Thank you for all the new people. And if any of you decided to join the Discord, I'll talk to you there at some point. But I'm going to wrap things up. I have a lot to do. What I'm going to do now is we are going to go out with a bang, and we are going to play the ending of V for Vendetta 1812 Overture finale. So thank you for being here, everyone. Thank you, WASP. Thank you, Zen. Thank you, Kizza. Goodbye, and God bless everyone.
Aye.
Take care, Rob.
Tell me, do you know what day it is, Evie?
November the 4th.
Not anymore. Remember the 5th of November, the gunpowder, treason, and plot. I know of no reason why the gunpowder treason should ever be forgot. First, the overture. Yes, the strings. Listen carefully, can you hear it? Now the brass.
I can hear it. The cat's off, honey. I can't use it. How did you do that?
Wait, here comes the crescendo. How beautiful, is it not?
And that's it, everybody. Good night.